Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Tuesday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky, day one of free agency in the NBA, and the Lakers are pretty quiet, and they're sending up some signals that might disturb fans. But other than that, things are going great. That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter where you get your podcasts. This one's always free, never behind paywall. And of course, Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where over 35,000 subscribers are all, they are all the stick figure poking meme, Andy, poking at Rob Pelinka, asking him to do something. Day one of free agency has essentially passed as we record at about 10 o'clock Pacific on Monday evening.
Although the best way to actually get the Lakers to do something is have us do a live show prepped for having them do nothing. And then, of course, something catches us by surprise that we weren't expecting. We have to scramble and vamp.
Start over, right?
No,
so
no. We are not starting over.
But like do it again. We have to do it again or something like, or we're just out of dated or whatever it is. But yes, to undo live programming is a specialty of the Lakers. So we'll break down everything the Lakers did, and more importantly, really what they were saying. I think that was just as important as the move that was made today and the potential moves that might be upcoming in the next couple of days. I want to let you know first, though, that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So the free agency, which now started at 3 o'clock Pacific, a much more reasonable hour for those of us with children, I suppose. But it's
for anybody. Like some of these free agents, they were having steak dinners at 2:30 in the morning because it was their second meeting with the team. Like
there was something kind of fun about the midnight phone call, but I don't need it anymore.
No civilized sport and frankly civilized organization says, hey, you person we value, go sit down at 3 a.m. and have your third ribeye and sides,
and make incredibly important life choices.
Right, while you're on the verge of vomiting. It's seriously like this was long overdue to change.
Fair point. So the free agency opened at 3 o'clock Pacific on Monday, and of course, took a minute to get going. But once it did, there was a pretty good flurry of activity. The first thing relevant to the Lakers, of course, was that Dorian Finney-Smith, as kind of became expected, moved on from the Lakers to the Houston Rockets, who gave him a 4-year contract. The Lakers just were not willing to go up that high with DFS for reasons that I think are, in fact, understandable given Dorian Finney-Smith's age. As I always like to remind people, he is significantly older than you think. This contract that Houston signed him will take him through into his age 36 season. And that I can understand the Lakers balking at. What they did do in response, almost right after, Andy, was they signed Jake LaRavia from Sacramento. He broke into the league with Memphis. He is a 23-year-old forward, 6'8", 235 or so. He is actually younger than Dalton Connect. So, like, in terms of when you think about youth and stuff like that, the guy they just signed coming into his, I believe, 4th year in the NBA is younger than last year's number 1 pick. So, in that sense, the Lakers definitely injected a little bit of youth in there. LaRavia is not a guy who's ever had a chance to play a huge role in a rotation, but he has some skills. He's a good shooter, shot over 42% last year in both of his stops. He, depending on who you're talking to, can defend a little bit. But he, just all around a decent basketball player, okay rebounder, stuff like that.
Good, not a bad rebounder. I think overall rebounder, he's fine, not great. Offensive rebound, he's actually pretty good for his position. Like, I've looked at a few different metrics or look at like his per 36 numbers. The last 2 seasons per 36, he's averaged 2+ offensive rebounds. If you go to cleaning the glass, his offensive rebounding metrics for the last few seasons have been pretty good. So while as an overall rebounder, he might not be as strong as you'd want for a guy that's like a 3-4 tweener forward. That one piece of rebounding is actually pretty good. I'd say at the very least above average for his position.
He played well last year, well, at least to the point that the Kings were hoping they would be able to keep him. But
Austin Reeves, perhaps the closer in this deal. For those who missed it, friend of the show, Trevor Lane from Lakers Nation I don't remember if the interview was set with LaRavia and Reeves happened to be in the car, or if it was with Reeves and LaRavia happened to be in the car. But either way, they were in the car together doing this interview with Trevor Lane, and Trevor told Austin that he should be recruiting Jake LaRavia. And Austin said, "Don't worry, I'm ahead of you. I'm doing this." Austin, the closer.
There you go. So a couple little, bits of feedback that we got. We talked to one person who said, his offensive bag is relatively limited, basically to shooting. But again, pretty good at it. 3-point shooting. Defense, he said, is his calling card. Surprisingly athletic, strong, and scrappy.
That's code for white.
Yeah, it is. We talked to, which he is. We talked to DeMichael Cole.
We've confirmed that with multiple sources.
Multiple sources. Confirmed. So we talked to DeMichael Cole, got a quick comment from him. He's the host of Locked On Grizzlies. He said LaRavia has really good hands defensively, active on-ball defender with his hands, can rebound well, has a little wiggle offensively, and can shoot. This past season was the first year he really started putting things together. He was initially kind of buried on a very deep Memphis team. Memphis, he ended up, out there basically in a numbers game. Again, deep team, too many players. And he ended up in Sacramento, played well for the Kings, but they didn't pick up an option and risked this happening. So, what's interesting to me about this, and we'll get to where they go from here, because obviously Jake LaRavia is not, Andy, a center. And a lot of centers flew off the board.
On last year's team, he might have been their center.
That's true. And give it time, he might be on this year's team as well.
He would have carved out a pretty solid role as at minimum.
You're right.
5.
I am speaking too soon, perhaps, but
yeah.
So there's some
DFS out. He probably is their starting center right now.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I think is right now Dorian Finney-Smith a better player than Jake LaRavia? Probably is. I do think. Is there a chance that this looks pretty comparable this year and next? Also, probably. I think there's a decent chance. And just again, the finances do sometimes matter, and I just don't think the Lakers, in good conscience, can give Dorian Finney-Smith a 4-year deal that takes him into age 36. But where I really think this is reflective of issues that management has had here, we don't need to necessarily spend a lot of time on it. It's another example of the Lakers giving up a fair amount of assets for a player that they don't keep for very long. They gave up D'Angelo Russell and 3 second-rounders for a player that walked in 3 months. And it's just not good asset management. It's not something that they've been good at over the last few years.
Yeah, even if you wanted to try to give them a mulligan of sorts and say when they traded for DFS, even if they had known at the time, because this was being kept under wraps for a while, that Luka was a possibility, it's not like bringing in Luka Doncic, otherwise known as Dorian Finney-Smith's best friend, would have necessarily changed the math on keeping DFS around. And I think it's really important to point out, I seriously expect / hope that the Lakers talked about this with Luka. And even if Luka was not thrilled at the idea of losing one of his closest friends in the league to free agency, that they explain the thought process and the overall plan well enough to Luka that he could not be mad about it, because you're still in this period where, while everybody is expecting that Luka is going to sign an extension in August, it is not yet. It's not yet done, and it cannot be done until August. So you have to be, as an overarching part of this, whatever they do in free agency, whatever they do in trades, you need to be in continual conversations and communications with Luka if they attempt to read his mind, a player that they've known for 3 months, to figure out what they think he wants. That's a really, really bad way to go about doing this.
And so after the break, let's talk a little bit about, some of the, potential centers that are no longer on the board, because centers obviously
all of them.
No,
not all, but most.
Most of them, but not all of them. And so we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about the big wavy red flag that came out of the day for me, more than the inactivity. The inactivity is relatively explainable, and we'll explain all of it next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports, they are in full swing, and whether you are all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action, so why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned on the beach, those losers. It is easy to use FanDuel. It's fast to pay out, and regular season games even feel like must-watch events. Whether you're placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet ride in the ninth inning, FanDuel makes it feel like you are part of the action. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if that first bet wins. So just pick something really obvious. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com and get started.
All right. So for most people that have been listening to the show, like we've been saying for a long time, Andy, the Lakers are in a box. This is, and the box got a little bit bigger on Monday when DFS went to Houston, because it opened up a larger exception for them. They went from the taxpayer mid-level, about almost $6 million, to 14, I believe it is, 14 and change for the full mid-level, the non-taxpayer mid-level. But even then, you're still kind of in a box, because the market for centers for different players, $11 million a year. We talked about Luke Cornett as a guy, for example. It's like, well, maybe the Lakers could get him with a taxpayer mid-level and stuff like that. Well, no, he got $11 million a year basically from the Spurs, so that wouldn't have worked. Lakers, I guess, could have gone in on that, but that takes up basically everything you're doing. Brook Lopez, we got 2 and 18 from the Clippers. Clint Capella got, I think, close to about 6.5 a year.
He got about 6.5, 7 a year.
7 a year in what became a sign-in trade technically.
Kevon Looney got $8 million a year to babysit New Orleans.
Yep, he got $8 million a year. So, you're looking at, for most players, a market of about 7 to 10 to $11 million a year, and then somebody like Day'Ron Sharpe, who was never going to be let go for the money that the Lakers committed, didn't actually make it to the opening of free agency. He re-signed in Brooklyn before free agency opened. So this is what the box looks like, and it's annoying and it's frustrating, because the other teams are making moves. You see players you might be interested in, and the Lakers are not really participating in it. Again, I don't have a problem with them letting DFS go, and I don't have a problem with the guy that they signed to replace him. It should be noted that the Lakers, the two names that they are most attached to, De'Anthony Melton, who is a very solid defender in the backcourt and would be a welcome addition to the team. He missed all of last season with a knee injury, but assuming he is ready to go, he is somebody who has been attached to the Lakers and probably would come at a reasonable price. Did not sign with anybody on Monday, so he is still out there. The big name is DeAndre Ayton, who cannot sign with anybody until he clears waivers on Wednesday. He was bought out by Portland and needs to clear waivers. He is unquestionably the best center that is realistically available on the market. So he's still there. The Lakers are rumored to be attached there, and there's a reasonable chance that come Wednesday the Lakers have DeAndre Ayton, which changes the math here. it's so like that part of it, like the Lakers were never going to be able to do everything you would want them to do without making trades. There's only so much you can do signing through free agency. And if they end up with,
which we've been telling our
since
listeners,
the end of
our
the
viewers,
season,
right? We've been saying this repeatedly, consistently.
If you end up with Ayton, who has, all of his flags are red, all of them, but when he's engaged is still a very talented player. If you end up with him along at $8 million, $7-8 million a year, because that's all the Lakers can pay him at this point. And he knows that, and they know that, and everybody knows that. And LaRavia and Melton, and that's really the allotment, maybe a minimum guy somewhere. That's the allotment that you have for your free agency. That's actually not a bad result. Assuming Melton is healthy, assuming Ayton is healthy, and all of that, you're not going to do much better with about $18 million or $19 million to play with. So I think it's important to remember that the Lakers were never going to be able to fully maximize the value of this offseason without trades. Whether you like Ayton or not, at $8 million a year, probably for 1 year, he's significantly better than a player that you probably would be expecting to get without having to give up players.
Other than, I guess the best, if you believe that the best version of Mo Wagner, who, if nothing else, you believe, because I believe he is still available as a free agent. If you believe that the best version of Mo Wagner, or at the very least, you believe Mo Wagner is more likely to bring his best, like attempt to bring his best on a day in, day out, game in, game out basis, like you could maybe talk yourself into believing that Mo Wagner is just, if nothing else, the center acquisition that will piss you off less. Like Brian and I were talking about this.
I think the only thing you can say about Mo Wagner being better from a total talent perspective than DeAndre Ayton is that he'll show up to practice on time.
No, but
he will be on your team playing when you want him to be.
No, I think he will give more.
Ayton's a better player than Wagner.
No, I think yes, Ayton is a more talented, better player. I think he is going to be more of a crapshoot on a game in, game out basis than Mo Wagner will be, even as a lesser player. And as you often like to point out, coaches really want reliability and consistency. I'm not making the argument that they should go after Mo Wagner, old friend, ahead of Ayton. I'm saying he's the only center out there that I think you could even talk yourself into the idea of being a better option than Ayton. That's
maybe.
It.
And I don't think that's and I don't think, they both those guys get hurt a lot too. So it's
sure.
Which guy do you want injured more?
Yeah, they both get
Ayton
hurt.
Is a better fit with what the Lakers need and how they play. Ayton's a better fit, but there isn't much out there to solve the problem without a trade. If you want, you want to, acquire somebody better, it's going to be a Nick Claxton through a trade or something. I do think the LaRavia signing increases the chances that the Lakers could trade Dalton Connect. Again, LaRavia is younger. And quite frankly, has been a better NBA player. Dalton's only had a year, and it was all over the place. But
his highs have been, I think, higher though than
maybe
LaRavia. In a 37-point night.
Look, he's Dalton can. I'm not itching to trade.
And LaRavia shot 42% from three last year. That is potentially an outlier. It's like 7 to 8% higher than any percentage he's ever had.
It's so it's one of these things where
that's all.
Sure, it's worth kind of looking at the thing in totality. It's the box means you can't do everything without trades. So if they come out of that with free agency and then they figure out how to use Rui's contract, use Gabe Vincent's contract. Vanderbilt probably will be on the team next year because trading him costs you assets. That stuff will, be something you can put into a deal. The Lakers shouldn't be done yet. But I will say the part that raises the red flag for me, I'll set it up here to continue talking about it more at the end of the break. Then we'll maybe get a little bit of LeBron talk in here, just because I know it's something that you have opinions about, and you were not on the show for Monday to go through it. A lot of what was reported out of this was that the Lakers are making their calculations based on keeping a clean cap sheet and maximum flexibility, maximum space for the summer, not of 2026, Andy, but for the summer of 2027 to sign a maximum free agent. Now, that's Giannis, that's a few other people like that are supposed to be, potential free agents that offseason. We have seen this movie before. We have seen the Lakers do this. And the notion to me that you would, I'm not saying go out and do dumb things, but that you would take good options off the table for you to try to make a splash in 2 off seasons while you're trying to make sure that Luka stays here. And more importantly, don't want to use up 2 years of the guy's prime. Again, don't do stupid things. Don't try to chase Houston, who had a phenomenal day, or Oklahoma City, who's better than them. Denver had swung a great trade for Cam Johnson, I think. They re-signed Bruce Brown. Like, you can't try to go toe-to-toe, but you can still do stuff. And to say, it gets back to what I've always said, Andy, if you think the only thing you can do to get guys in is maintain cap space, it shows you have zero confidence in your ability to do it any other way. No, and this says to me, the Lakers have no confidence in their ability to sign a player that will actually be good enough that you can trade them in 2 years.
When we come back, I've got a couple thoughts on this, just because you said we've seen this movie before, and I think we've maybe seen a version of the movie before, but theoretically what we are talking about could, and I emphasize could, be more of a reboot or a sequel or some different version of the movie than what we've seen in the past. And also I've got some thoughts on the 2027 thing. So get into that coming up next.
I should point out, it's not like a done deal. The Lakers have DeAndre Ayton here. It is not like guaranteed. Jordan Clarkson, for example, was bought out by Utah on Monday, and it is already being reported that he's going to land with the Knicks in New York. It's actually a good pickup for them as a bench scorer.
He's going to love New York.
He is. And
Jordan Clarkson is going to love.
As much as we like to kind of tease JC and all that kind of stuff, like the last time he played serious basketball, like, a couple of years ago when the Jazz weren't tanking, like starting in November, Clarkson was pretty good. Sure. So he can offer a decent amount to that team. Like, so there is no DeAndre Ayton will clear waivers and is expected to sign with the Los Angeles Lakers. Like there's a lot of smoke there, but he's not the only, the Lakers are not the only team that can bring Ayton in or might want to. So it's as good an option as they're going to get, but it's also not a done deal, and you can't count on it yet. So yeah, I look at this and I fear 2 things. First, again, that confidence question, and then 2, like this sort of sales pitch of like, don't worry, our next star is coming in 2027, guys. We got you covered, Lakers fans. We've got a plan. We've got this set up. It's like I realize there's a gap between them and the top teams in the West, but you've still got Luka Doncic, LeBron James, and Austin Reeves. You won 50 games last season. Like, the idea that you're just going to wait doesn't sit well.
Okay, well, there's a couple thoughts I have on this. First, when you mentioned that we've seen this movie before, I think we have to a degree. In the past, when the Lakers have done this hoarding of cap space, and you and I have covered this team for a long time, and it's something that you and I have been very critical of them for doing for a very long time. And for those who really care enough to find the receipts from, say, 2017, 2018, Godspeed, but you'll find them. They're there. Better thing to do with your time. But The difference, though, and this is a very big difference that I can't recall an example of the Lakers really doing this with this specific difference. Typically, it has been keeping cap space open, that flexibility open, to get the first star in, to get a star in at all. And then we'll see if we can build around him once we get that star in there. But it's just been the idea of we are open for business for any star, come take our money for hashtag reasons. Like, just come here and we'll figure out the rest. They actually have the star in hand now. And I can't think of an example where they've ever, at least reportedly, or we've actively seen them play the cap space game where they actually have the star in hand, which I think makes it a different game. It is, because you are theoretically adding to something that you already have. I'm not saying it as an endorsement. I'm saying it's a different game. It is a different game than imagining
the difference of Monopoly versus, Monopoly Chicago edition. Like,
no,
I just don't
it's
see
not.
it. I just don't see it as different enough.
Well,
because
I think it is different because you are actually adding, assuming Lucas stays, you are adding to something concrete, and you are giving other stars a reason to come to you, as opposed to you jump in the pool first. No, you jump in the pool first.
Okay, but what if you could,
if they don't, they don't.
Again, let's say I want to be the man. I don't want to be the guy who plays
whatever. I'm not endorsing the plan.
Right, but I'm just saying my point is not that you're endorsing it. My point is I don't agree with you that it's the same game, that it's not basically the same thing. What you are counting on is that your avenue to get a star, deciding that that you need to, this is, the avenue we need to take is signing a guy that we know somebody's, that magical free agent of, season of 2027, which we've seen the magical free agent season of 2012 and 2016.
Right, but those were all when they were doing
But no, I'm just talking around the NBA where there's going to be 12 guys who are going to be free agents, and there are all these stars.
Again, I don't want to even get into the weeds.
I'm not arguing with you about whether you're endorsing it. I'm explaining.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I don't want to even get into all I'm saying is that I think it is a different way that they're doing it to some degree.
It's a different way of playing the same. Then fine. It's a different way of doing something stupidly differently, because the market never turns out the way that you want.
Okay. I think it is.
And if Giannis, just to use a name, wants to come to LA, if that's what he wants to do, and you've got $24 million that you need to clear to make it happen, you can do that.
Of course. Again, I don't really even want to get into a weeds about a debate over it. I'm saying it is a somewhat different way of doing it.
I think fine. If it's a different way, it's still dumb.
Fine.
When
whatever.
you have, when you have Luka and LeBron and Austin Reeves and at least some capacity to improve.
But let me get to the next part of it, because I'm not looking to debate whether or not they should or shouldn't do it. I'm saying it's just one difference in all the other times the Lakers have done it. I'm not talking about the rest of the league. I'm just talking about the Lakers. The other reason, though, that frankly I want to say a little bit suspicious that this is actually the plan. And again, I could be totally end up wrong about this, and people will throw back the receipts and whatever. But I'm a little bit suspicious that this is the plan, because Austin Reeves at that point, the summer of 2027, means that they are theoretically letting Austin walk in 2026, because all we keep hearing about is that they want to make Austin a Laker for life. I mean, they've hung on to Austin for this long when they could have potentially traded him. You would think you'd want to have him around. And at that point, that means your cap sheets aren't clean. Like we've heard way more about them wanting to build around Luka and Austin than we've ever heard about the summer of 2027. 2026, yes. 2026, yes. Never 27. And that we're hearing this right around the time when Rich Paul has made it clear that LeBron is concerned about whatever type of commitment that they will have for this team while LeBron's here, and saying things that feel like, at the very least, something of a pressure campaign to do some bleep now, makes me wonder a little bit if this is perhaps coming from the LeBron, Rich Paul side of things, trying to create a perception that the Lakers are really going to sit on their hands for 2 years, essentially, which makes, unless this is truly what Luka wants them to do, this would be one hell of a risky way to go about trying to maximize your star in his prime. It makes me wonder a bit where this is coming from. That's all.
I think, we'll see what kind of pushback they get. We'll see how they follow through on that plan. But this is not new. I mean, we've heard kind of rumblings of them and looking at stars, valuing flexibility and all these things. This is not a brand new thing. And even with Reeves under contract, other than the everlasting gobstopper of Jared Vanderbilt's deal, they don't have much. It would be Luka currently, you're presumably a re-signed AR, and you don't have a lot else on your books. So they would have the space to bring, but they would have space to bring somebody else in.
Sure.
It can be done.
Until I start seeing more evidence of this, and again, I'm open to the idea of being revealed as wrong. I am skeptical. If you told me that they were waiting around for 2026, I would believe that in a second. I think you can even make an argument for it, even if you don't think it's compelling.
Well, just because they can't do much this year anyway.
Right.
You are limited.
Right. But this is the reason. In 2026, they can theoretically have really clean caps as well, a clean cap sheet as well, and they can sign guys, and then they could theoretically trade them for star X. So the 2027 thing, to be totally honest, forget that it's a stupid idea. It doesn't even make sense.
No, it does make sense if you are, because it removes the step that you're talking about of making trades, acquiring guys, and doing stuff, and it removes that step. It is that's kind of my point. It's like,
I also have a hard time believing that Rob
single easiest way to get to this clean sheet is kind of just to do nothing or not commit to anything.
I'll put it this way. If that's the plan, Rob Pelinka will not be the GM who fills out the 2027. I'd be stunned if I think, which is also why I think that this is kind of this feels far-fetched to me. We'll see. I agree with you where this is coming from.
Where it comes from and what it really looks like in practice is a good question. And it is not,
because it's coming out of nowhere. The 20.
I see it, but that part I don't agree with. I don't think it's coming out of nowhere. I think there has been this talk. There has been more talk about flexibility and when you get it, and in a post Luka, how do you add that next star in the post Luka post Luka trade world? And so this notion of trying to maintain flexibility to go get that next star, I don't think that's new. It's maybe a little bit more explicit, but I don't think it's necessarily new. One thing that we don't have time to get into today, but I want to talk about for tomorrow, which hopefully will be filled with more free agency news for the Lakers, is this question of the realness of a LeBron James trade threat.
I have thoughts on that as well.
Rich Paul, what that might look like in practice, because I think it is way different than most people do, at least most people that we talk to, but perhaps not you, because we haven't talked about it. And let's not before tomorrow's show. Okay. Keep it fresh. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 35,000 subscribers. We will be back tomorrow, of course. If anything breaks over the course of the day, that's super important. We'll throw something up on the YouTube page and on the audio page, or you get it through Apple or Spotify or whatever. So we'll definitely keep you updated with any reaction that's necessary. But after that, we'll be back for our regular show on Wednesday.